Alrighty, I'm outside this morning. It's a beautiful Sunday morning, kind of humid. Checking on my hydroponics garden. I kind of started the hydroponics late this year, so everything doesn't look real good. Last year at this time, it was already producing. But I mean, I had to actually transplant this butternut squash right here. These are original ones. This one here is an original one. This one is an original one. This one is an original one. I had to transplant this cucumber plant, and I don't think it's going to make it because it looks like it's, it looks alive, but I've noticed that when it shrivels there in the middle, they don't tend to make it. I don't think that one's going to make it either. Pepper plants are just kind of, I had to transplant those pepper plants as well. They're just barely hanging on. Of course, now they look a little bit better, and they're still alive. And then that's a squash right there. I think it's either a squash or a pickling cucumber. So I don't know. Next year I'll be better because I had to add this reservoir to it this year, and it took a lot more time because I had time off last year. This year I don't have a whole lot of time off, so the reservoir keeps me from having to change all these things one at a time. The way it works is I've got a pump down here. All these things are interconnected. All the tanks are interconnected, so I had to make those during the year. And the pump basically, it has a little gauge on it that kind of regulates the flow. It's a little regulator. It regulates the flow from the tanks. If it's too high, it actually pulls too much fluid from these tanks down here. So you got to have it at a certain level. But it comes down here to this tank, and we'll look at it here. This is why it's called a recirculating tank right here. And so I can just change all the fluid and put the nutrients and change the pH just by going in this tank and adjusting everything without having to do it individually. All right. Now we'll go over to the other hydroponics bays. If you could see what I look like, I'm walking around here with an apron on because I just got through cooking breakfast. All right, I had to transplant my tomatoes as well, but the tomatoes look darn good. Look at the tomatoes. They look good. I mean, they went through a little bit of shock, and again, it's the same setup. They went through a little bit of shock, just like the peppers and the squash, but tomatoes apparently can take a lot of abuse. These things have tripled since I put them out here, and they've already got flowers. They're probably getting ready to produce tomatoes. I'm gonna have to put some cages in here. I changed my greenhouse. That's a vent right there. It's a breathable vent, but I changed it because bugs were getting in there, and I had to really seal this greenhouse this year. So now we're gonna go. I know I'm kind of moving around a lot, y'all. We're gonna go in the inside greenhouse. We're gonna have an air conditioner put in here next week. This is the same setup here. I've got my green leafy vegetables out here. This is that is cabbage. This is mustard. We got some lacinato kale, and we got some red Russian kale here. And those all have the same setup here. And then back here, we've got some lettuce. Now this, one of them doesn't look too good. This one doesn't look too hot, but it looked worse yesterday. Now this right here, I'm doing this differently than the other ones. This one doesn't have a pump. I'm doing this by the Kratsky method pretty much, where you just let the roots go down into the nutrient solution and now lift it up. It just goes down into the nutrient solution, and it's fed through this. And it's really good to do this process with lettuce because lettuce is a fast-growing plant. But again, I started this stuff way too late, guys, and so hopefully everything will grow. Some of it's at different stages, like this one here is at a different stage, and all these are at different stages. And it's because you know, they couldn't take the heat, so I had to replant them. They've probably been replanted 3 times, so I'm not going to replant anymore. You know, I'll just know for next year that I'll do it the right way. This is my greenhouse. I've got an exhaust fan right there. I've got fans in here to kind of circulate the air. I've got those flaps that open up on the outside. And heck, it still gets hot in here. But again, I'm gonna have a plug put in here next week, so I can put an air conditioner in here, because I had an air conditioner in here. For you that have been following me, I had an air conditioner in here before, but I was using this extension cord right here to run it, and it wouldn't run. So, but look, the temperature now is about 80 degrees in here, which is probably what it needs to be. But when the sun comes up, it's going to be a lot hotter in here. So anyway, that's a little catch up for you guys. I'll post more videos in the future.